Hey everyone, sorry for being a couple of minutes late. Good morning everyone. Merci tout le monde pour être ici. Thanks for joining me today for this announcement. So on April 2nd, 2020, the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development released continuity of learning plans. Bonjour tout le monde, merci de vous joindre nous à l'occasion de cette annonce positive et encourageante pour les élèves de notre province. Comme vous le savez, le 2 avril 2020, le ministère de l'Éducation et du Développement de la petite enfance a rendu public dans une optique de continuité des plans d'apprentissage. So at that time, I announced that unless the global situation as it relates to COVID-19 improved drastically, schools in New Brunswick would remain closed for the rest of the 2019-2020 school year, and that the school year would not be extended. So obviously a lot has changed over the last few weeks, and we've seen stretches in here in New Brunswick with no cases, and reduced our active case number down to 0, which is fantastic news and a credit to every single citizen in this province. But the fact remains that we are still living through a global pandemic. This is not over yet. That's why we are still not planning to reopen schools for the 2019-2020 school year. Because from the very beginning, my concern, my department's concern, and the concern of government has been public health and safety. And we know this has not been easy for families. We know families have concern about the impact this situation is going to have on their children's education. And I understand and share those concerns. We're committed to helping students in New Brunswick continue their education while school facilities are closed. And part of making that possible is providing students with the tools they need to pursue home learning options. And that's why today I'm pleased to share that the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development has invested $860,000 to purchase technology geared at supporting students as they learn at home. So through this investment, the department has acquired 1,000 iPads with data plans and 500 laptops and 300 MIFI hubs. Et je tiens à le redire et à insister sur un point, nous agissons au mieux de notre capacité avec détermination et dans un esprit de collaboration fructueuse pour aider les élèves de Nouveau-Brunswick à poursuivre leurs apprentissages dans ce contexte de fermeture des écoles publiques. Et l'un des éléments clés pour réaliser ce plan de continuité réside dans la capacité à fournir aux élèves les outils nécessaires qu'ils ont besoin pour profiter des possibilités d'apprentissage à domicile. Vous savez, nous avons à cœur l'éducation des enfants et des jeunes de notre province. Et ça c'est la raison pour laquelle je suis content d'être ici aujourd'hui pour annoncer que le ministère de l'Éducation et de la Développement de la petite enfance investit une somme de 860 000 $ pour faire l'achat d'appareils technologiques vise à soutenir les élèves durant cette période d'apprentissage à domicile. Grâce à cet investissement, le ministère a pu acheter 1000 tablettes iPad comprenant des forfaits de données, 500 ordinateurs portatifs et 300 points d'accès MIFI. This investment will help us to level the playing field and ensure students have more equitable access to home learning options. We know each family has a different home environment, and we know there are families who face technological barriers that do put some students at a disadvantage under this learning model. We understand as well that there is no perfect solution for every situation, but that this is a step in the right direction. Because not only is this technology going to help students in the coming months as we live through this pandemic together, it will help us build a world-class and connected education system for the future. While this pandemic has obviously been incredibly disruptive to all of our everyday lives, it's had even larger impacts on our economy. That's why I'm pleased to share that funding for this initiative is coming from within our regular departmental budget. There are several expenses, for example, maintenance and fuel for school buses, that haven't been incurred while students aren't in school. And so that made it possible for us to spend those funds differently to support student learning. So questions about how we're investing in this initiative are important, but the real question for families is simple: how's this going to work? And here's what you're going to need to know. So guided by our continuity of learning plans, the Anglophone and Francophone education sectors have secured technology that best supports the delivery of their plans. Et bien sûr que cela soulève des questions sur les raisons qui justifient un tel investissement et la manière dont les fonds seront utilisés. Pourtant, la véritable question qui compte vraiment pour les familles est assez simple: comment allons-nous mettre cela en œuvre? Et voici ce qu'il faut savoir au sujet de cette initiative dans l'intérêt des élèves de notre province. Inspiré par la continuité des plans d'apprentissage mis en place, le secteur francophone et anglophone ont réussi à obtenir des outils technologiques, comme j'ai déjà mentionné, qui conviennent le mieux pour soutenir la mise en œuvre efficace de leur plan de continuité. Nous en sommes fiers et je tiens à souligner l'excellent travail et l'engagement du personnel de notre ministère, ainsi que des dirigeants et du personnel des districts scolaires, et évidemment des enseignantes et enseignants. So over the last month or so, the department's been working with school districts and with teachers throughout the province to get a better picture of what their needs are when it comes to technology. Districts have reached out to families. They've conducted surveys to learn what technology is available to each student at home, and this helped guide the department in determining what to purchase and in what quantities. The new devices, along with existing school and district technology resources, will be loaned to students who require these tools to complete their home learning options. The MIFI hubs will be available for students who don't have access to internet at home. Schools will coordinate the distribution of these devices to families in the coming weeks as students pick up their personal belongings, and students are going to be expected to return the loaned devices at a date specified at the pickup time. So along with supporting home learning, these devices are going to help families stay connected to their school community and provide a means to access resources that support mental health and well-being. They're also going to provide families with a means of staying as up to date as possible with information from the provincial government and other reliable sources as we all live through this pandemic. Et ce sont les écoles qui vont s'occuper de coordonner la distribution de ces appareils aux familles au cours des prochains jours. Comme vous le savez, les élèves commencent à aller chercher les objets et articles personnels dans les écoles. Les élèves devront retourner les appareils qui leur sont prêtés à une date qui leur sera indiquée lorsqu'on leur fournira des appareils. En plus de soutenir les activités d'apprentissage à domicile, ces appareils vont grandement aider les familles à rester en contact avec les personnels de leurs écoles et de leur communauté. Sans oublier que cela fournit un moyen d'avoir accès à des ressources qui contribueront à soutenir la santé mentale et le bien-être des jeunes. An enormous amount has changed around the world in the last few weeks. And I want to thank all of those who have been working hard to support students and all of us through this difficult and challenging time. In the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development, I am so proud of the outstanding work that's been done. Educators, thank you for your flexibility, your innovation, and your dedication to your students. And families, thank you for your patience while we figure this out. We are not finished with COVID-19 yet, but we are starting to see our efforts pay off. And as we move forward, I urge you not to be complacent, to continue to follow the directives from public health and other authorities. If we keep working together, we're going to get through this together. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Happy to take any questions.
Let's start with Kevin Bissett with the Canadian Press. First question. Kevin, are you there?
That was an easy one.
François Leblanc, Radio-Canada, votre première question?
Oui, M. Cardy, j'aimerais savoir comment vous allez coordonner ce que les gens vont faire avec les tablettes comme l'apprentissage. Est-ce que ça veut dire qu'il va y avoir plus d'éducation, plus de contact avec les enseignants?
C'était toujours le plan on a dit que pour cette année scolaire, on va avoir la continuité de l'apprentissage, mais pour septembre, on a besoin d'être préparé pour une période de temps où on peut avoir les vagues de virus qui peuvent arriver et après ça partir. On a besoin d'avoir un système d'éducation qui est prêt pour répondre aux besoins communautaires. Enfin, pour dire un jour, une semaine, on a besoin d'être à la maison, la prochaine à l'école. Alors, on va continuer de laisser les responsabilités spécifiques de comment utiliser ces appareils dans les mains de notre équipe exceptionnelle d'éducateurs et éducatrices, enseignants partout dans la province. Et c'est sur eux qu'on va continuer de dépendre, mais c'est dans le contexte d'un système qui a besoin d'être vraiment flexible, commençant en septembre, pour ouvrir les écoles, fermer les écoles, mais continuer avec l'éducation. L'école recommence en septembre, malgré l'intention du virus, et on va continuer de le battre avec l'éducation, parce que ça, c'est la seule manière qu'on peut aller en avant. Merci.
Avez-vous une suivi?
Oui, j'aurais suivi. Vous parlez de retour à l'école. Donc, est-ce qu'il y a déjà un processus qui est réfléchi? Est-ce que les jeunes à qui vous donnez les tablettes, puis les iPads, les ordinateurs portatifs, ces jeunes-là vont les garder pour le processus du cheminement scolaire? Comment c'est décidé, ces choses-là?
Ça, c'est basé encore sur les besoins. Et c'est exactement ça. Quand on a décidé de fermer les écoles, et de commencer à développer les continuités d'apprentissage. Une grande inquiétude est que le fait qu'il y a quelques mille jeunes dans la province qui n'ont pas accès aux technologies, pas accès à un environnement familial qui a une connexion à l'Internet pour les raisons socio-économiques ou géographiques. Et pour ça, c'était clair qu'on avait besoin d'adresser ce problème, en effet. Alors, ceci est une manière de le faire. Et un avantage, malgré toutes les restrictions créées par le virus, on a maintenant un point d'avantage. Une population scolaire pleinement branchée, c'est quelque chose qui va nous donner un énorme avantage quand on retourne au travail, retourne à essayer d'avancer notre province dans le contexte du monde post-pandémie.
Merci, ministre. Merci, François. Callum Smith from Global, your first question.
Hi, Minister. I'm wondering when these devices and sports will be in the hands of students.
We're working at getting them out over the next couple of weeks. Most of them are already, we've got them, so it's just a question of dealing with the distribution. All of that's obviously made more complicated by requirements for safety and social distancing, that the sort of thing that would have taken a short amount of time and a short drive a few weeks ago now takes longer, involves a lot more logistics. I sort of use the example, it's like we're all living in a space station and we have these airlocks where we can sort of safely transmit materials from one person to another. That slows things down a lot. But we're going to get them out in the next couple of weeks and they'll be available for the kids to use, and they'll be available for them in September when we have an education system that includes an online component as part of the design, not as a last-minute add-on, as it has been by necessity over the last few weeks.
Helen, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I do. Minister, I know you mentioned that nothing is perfect right now, of course, but how confident are you that these sports will be adequate? My understanding from these meet hubs is that it goes off cell towers, so if people are in a rural location, would there not still be internet challenges?
There may well be, and we'll do our best to identify those as we go along. What we've done so far is try to respond directly to the needs that have been identified to us by parents, by families, through to the teachers, through the school system. So that was the whole basis for this program, was the needs that we were hearing expressed from the communities across the province. If we still end up with problems at the end of this, we will work to find solutions. That's what we're here for.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Helen. Michel Ribaud with Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, Monsieur le ministre. Il y a 1000 iPads, 500 laptops, ça fait 1500. Il y a, considérons aussi qu'il y a plusieurs familles qui n'ont pas d'Internet. Est-ce que tout ça va être vraiment suffisant? Comment vous avez calculé tout ça?
Merci pour la question. Et le nombre était identifié basé sur les réponses qu'on a eues des districts, des écoles, des enseignants, enseignantes en consultation, en conversation avec les familles. Alors, si on a besoin d'encore ajouter un autre nombre d'ordinateurs ou connexions à l'Internet, on va absolument regarder ça dans les prochaines semaines. Mais le montant d'ordinateurs qu'on a acheté, c'était basé sur qu'est-ce qu'on a entendu du système. Alors, on va continuer dans la même direction et essayer d'adresser les trous si on voit qu'il y a les trous.
Deuxième question.
Oui, Monsieur le ministre, j'aimerais savoir, vous avez évoqué le retour en classe en septembre prochain malgré le virus. Comment va se faire le retour en classe? Comment est-ce possible d'avoir un retour en classe? Est-ce qu'on va avoir des classes réduites? Est-ce qu'on va avoir encore des classes virtuelles? Comment vous envisagez le plan de retour en classe?
On va avoir les classes virtuelles pour les temps si on a besoin de refermer la province encore, s'il y a une autre vague du virus et on n'a pas le même niveau de réussite qu'on avait avec la première vague. Mais le reste du temps, j'espère qu'on va être dans les écoles parce que c'est un système scolaire basé sur les écoles et aussi la formation. C'est vraiment difficile malgré tous les bénéfices avec l'éducation en ligne. Le contact entre les étudiants et les enseignants, c'est quelque chose de primordial au système. Et primordial pour nous comme êtres humains. Alors, c'est absolument quelque chose qu'on va faire tout qu'on peut pour assurer que les élèves sont dans les salles de classe pour le maximum période de temps possible. Mais toutes les décisions vont être prises en contexte du virus et du santé de nos élèves et d'équipes d'éducation des adultes dans la salle de classe, dans le système scolaire aussi. Mais c'était pour ça qu'on a décidé de ne pas réouvrir malgré le faible nombre de cas qu'on a ici dans la province aujourd'hui, pour décider de ne pas réouvrir avant septembre, parce qu'on a besoin de complètement changer le système pour avoir un système qui peut bouger en ligne, en personne, dans une période de temps assez bref. On espère 1-2 jours maximum pour les changements comme ça. Alors, on veut être confiant qu'en septembre, on peut réouvrir avec un système qui peut livrer une éducation de haute qualité pour tous les élèves partout dans la province. Alors, c'est ça l'intention et la base de nos plans aujourd'hui.
Okay, merci, Ministre. Merci, Michelle. Laura Brown, CTV, your first question.
Hi, Minister. I'm wondering, you had said previously that you believed about 1,000 students or students' families had unreliable internet. Is that still around the number that you're working with? And how long will you pay for the data plan?
On the first question, again, the numbers that we have now that I just announced here with the iPads, laptops, and the connections, that's what we've heard back from families across the province. So that's the reason for the purchase that we made. Again, if we need to make further adjustments, we will based on what we hear back from schools and families. In terms of how long this is going to go on for with the connections, I mean, one of the things that I'm going to be reaching out in consultation with other folks in government, we need to talk to our telecoms about making sure every single home in New Brunswick has access to reliable, high-speed internet, because we cannot possibly develop a 21st century economy, especially in the context of a pandemic that requires social distancing and occasional shutdowns of institutions that keep us away from each other. We can't have that society without the internet. Imagine what this would have been like for all of us who've been stuck at home over the last months if you hadn't had access to a computer connection. So we are, on the one hand, fortunate that the internet had developed to the point that it did before this pandemic hit us, but we cannot forget those who have been left behind by those changes, and we need to work with our telecommunications companies to ensure that we have equal and universal access across this province. We've led in that field in the past, and there's no reason we can't again, and I think it's time that New Brunswick again reclaims its position as a world leader on the IT sector.
Okay. Laura, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, just quickly, if students go back to physical schools in September, will these iPads remain in those families?
Yeah, that's the intention, is that they would have material that they could use, because again, we're looking at having to quickly shift from online to offline learning. And so making sure that we have more of our education system based on the use of this technology. Again, that's a development that I think would have happened over the course of a few years regardless. That process has been accelerated by the pandemic. And I didn't quite answer the second half of your first question around how long this is going to last. We need to rely on the telecoms to be able to make sure we have that universal high-speed and reliable internet. But the rest of that calendar is really determined by the virus, and I can't control that. So we need to be ready for a couple of years at least of having this sort of instability, because that's the situation that a virus that we're only beginning to understand has placed us in.
Minister, thank you, Laura. Stephanie Sirois with the Wave, your first question, please. Stephanie?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Thank you. I was wondering, you mentioned that these numbers of iPads, laptops, and Wi-Fi hubs were arrived at in discussion with families and classmates across the province. Now, what I'm wondering is, are there any students who are not receiving this technology that might still need this technology?
Again, at this point, we have responded to the needs that were identified by the system down through the district, schools, principals, teacher level in communication with the families. If we find out that there are gaps, we'll fill the gaps. This is important, and this is going to be the basis of our education system going forward, is making sure we have access to technological tools to be able to complement in-class learning, to be able to deliver a high-quality education to every single student if the system is shut down for whatever reason. So we hope this will put us in good stead, but we will do our best if there are students who are still left behind to identify them, make sure they have access to the tools they need.
Okay. Stephanie, your second question?
Yes, thank you. Do you foresee any difficulties in getting this technology out to the families? How is that going to be arranged? Is it going to be shipped or dropped off?
The goal is to make sure that it's safely dropped off. In some cases, schools are using the pickup of personal effects because, of course, we shut the school system on a moment's notice. People had left gym clothes behind, expensive sneakers, all sorts of other personal effects, including in some cases computers and laptops and tablets as well. So in schools where that's possible, we'll arrange for the distribution of technology at the same time as that material is picked up. If that doesn't work, we will find other means of doing that over the course of the next couple of weeks. But the main focus there is going to make sure that it's done safely and that we protect everyone involved in that process, from the families receiving the equipment to the folks who are dropping it off to the people who are loading it up.
Sorry to interrupt, Minister, but I'm having difficulty hearing you. I think someone has their microphone unmuted and is breathing in.
I'll try and speak up a bit. In terms of how
Thank you very much.
we will do our best to identify any gaps and make sure that the laptops and the tablets are dropped off safely, making sure that we pay attention to the safety of the families involved who are receiving the material, the folks who are dropping it off, and also the people who are loading it up into the trucks for delivery in the first place. So every single thing that we're doing in the department and across government is starting with a single question: is this safe? And nothing is 100%, but we're doing our very best to make sure that anything that we do is making sure that we keep the safety of families, students, and our teaching staff and professional teams as protected as we possibly can.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Stephanie. Jacques Poitras with the CBC. Your first question, please.
Hi, just on these MiFi or MiFi devices, so I want to come back to something Callum asked about. So they rely on cell data. I'm still not clear on how families with poor reception or poor broadband will be able to take advantage of any of this.
Well, in most cases, there's homes that don't have access to good internet. Some cases have access to better cell connections or vice versa. Yeah, it was beyond the powers of my department to be able to put up cell towers or develop new internet access points in the space of the last few weeks. We're doing the best we can with what we have, and that includes the resources that are there from the telecommunications companies. This is it's obviously still a limitation. That's why I'm going to be talking with those companies to see where we can go to make sure that we provide better internet and cell capacity for all New Brunswickers, not just our students.
Okay, do you have a follow-up question, Jacques?
Yeah, just picking up on that point, I mean, I've been covering promises of 100% broadband coverage in rural New Brunswick for more than a decade, and it never seems to happen. And one of the obstacles that the telephone companies have cited is that it's just not profitable for them to invest the fiber infrastructure in remote areas where there aren't enough customers to get a return on their investment. So how is talking to the telco companies about this really going to get anywhere?
Stay tuned, and I'll remind you as well that over the last decades that we've also had successive governments promising to make sure every New Brunswick student had access to computer technology. We've made that happen.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Jacques. Simon Delautre avec Acadie Nouvelle.
Oui, bonjour Monsieur le Ministre. Eh bien, ma question c'était au sujet de finalement savoir si les directives que pour l'instant vous avez données pour l'enseignement à la maison, est-ce qu'elles vont évoluer avant la rentrée de septembre. On sait par exemple que certaines classes offrent des classes virtuelles sur certaines plateformes. Est-ce qu'on pourrait imaginer, maintenant que les familles auront accès à la technologie, étendre ces classes virtuelles à toutes les classes, peut-être le mois de juin par exemple?
Je m'excuse, je m'excuse de l'interrompre. Est-ce que tu peux répéter et parler un peu plus, augmenter le volume un petit peu? Je ne peux pas vraiment t'entendre. M'excuse.
Oui, pardon. La question c'était finalement, est-ce que savoir si il y avait un plan pour, par exemple, étendre les classes virtuelles, parce qu'il y a certaines classes qui proposent certains enseignants qui proposent des classes virtuelles à leurs élèves actuellement. Est-ce que le ministère souhaiterait que ce soit étendu à plus d'écoles, plus de niveaux scolaires peut-être?
Oui, absolument. Encore, notre but est en septembre d'avoir un système qui, au niveau maximum possible, est prêt pour changer des salles de classe virtuelles aux salles de classe réelles dans les écoles et de faire les changements comme ça avec un montant d'interruption et disruption minime. Et c'est pour ça qu'on prend les prochains mois pour assurer que nous sommes bien préparés pour septembre. Et on a dit, OK, est-ce qu'on peut... Parce qu'on avait un choix. On peut dire, OK, les prochaines semaines avant la fin de l'année scolaire 2019-2020, on peut peut-être regarder, est-ce qu'on va réouvrir cette semaine, 2 semaines après ça? Pour faire ça, on avait besoin de dédier un énorme montant de ressources dans le système pour être prêt pour faire les changements comme ça. Ou l'autre option était de prendre le temps pour bien préparer pour septembre en contexte d'un virus qui va probablement être avec nous pour au moins une année ou peut-être 2 ou peut-être plus, et d'assurer toutes les familles dans la province qu'on va être prêts pour livrer une éducation de haute qualité en ligne ou en personne. Et on a décidé sur le deuxième. Je pense que c'est important dans les contextes des moments comme ceci d'être stratégique, de ne pas répondre aux besoins quotidiens. Des fois, les gens disent « OK, c'est juste comme au commencement de la pandémie. C'était trop tôt pour fermer les écoles. Une semaine après, c'était trop tard. » On a besoin d'avoir une vision de plus long terme et de préparer pour un nouveau monde qui a besoin d'être, premièrement, en contexte de pandémie et aussi en contexte de l'universalité de l'utilisation de technologies. Et c'est pour ça qu'on a pris les décisions qu'on a faites et on va être prêt en septembre avec l'appui des enseignants-enseignantes et l'équipe scolaire par toute la province qui était absolument incroyable jusqu'à ce point. Et je suis confiant qu'il va continuer de bouger dans la même direction dans l'avenir. Merci.
Simon, avez-vous une deuxième question?
Oui, absolument. Donc, si je comprends bien, les changements au fonctionnement de l'éducation, on ne les verra pas avant septembre.
Correct.
Pour le moment, l'enseignement repose essentiellement sur les familles. Et on sait que toutes les familles n'ont pas la capacité d'assurer une continuité des enseignements. Est-ce que le ministère souhaiterait que les enseignants jouent un plus grand rôle au cours des prochaines semaines qu'ils ne le jouent actuellement? Quel rôle peuvent jouer les enseignants pour mieux épauler les familles? Et est-ce que les enseignants, est-ce que leur rôle va vraiment reprendre en septembre?
C'est pour le reste de cette année, un système, pour septembre et après ça, une autre. Pour les prochaines quelques semaines, nous sommes en train de mettre en contact quelques centaines, c'est la raison pour l'annonce aujourd'hui, plus d'une 1000 élèves qui n'avaient pas accès aux technologies de tout. Ils n'avaient pas l'habilité même de partager dans l'offre d'éducation à distance limitée qui était en place les dernières semaines. Alors, on a besoin d'assurer que tous les élèves sont bien préparés. On a besoin aussi d'assurer que les enseignants-enseignantes sont bien préparés aussi. Nous sommes en discussion avec les syndicats et l'association des enseignantes pour assurer que les enseignants sont bien préparés en septembre pour eux-mêmes diriger les salles de classe virtuelles. Pour quelques d'entre eux, ils sont exceptionnels déjà, au premier niveau dans le monde, gagnent beaucoup de prix pour l'éducation à distance. Pour les autres, encore un peu d'hésitation sur comment utiliser un iPad. Il n'y a rien de honteux avec ça, mais on a besoin de leur donner l'opportunité pour être formés. Pour découvrir une nouvelle habilité, tu as besoin d'avoir la formation. C'est le même pour les enseignants, pour les élèves, pour les ministres, pour les fonctionnaires.
Merci, ministre. Merci, Simon. Andrew Waugh with the Telegraph Journal. Your first question, please.
Minister Cardy, I haven't been able to hear most of what you said, but what I see from the press release is it says that these devices are going to be distributed in the coming months. So what happens to the kids that didn't have access for the rest of this school year, and how do they catch up?
Well, it will be the coming weeks rather than months, and some of it's already beginning. But that's the whole reason, that we are not offering formal schooling this school year. The school year was ended when I made the announcement in early April. So there's a difference between what happens between now and the end of June and what happens starting in September. So it's not a question of catching up because grades are being assessed, except for courses based on credit, which is based on the decision between a teacher and a student in some certain cases. But for the rest of the student body, marks in January are the marks for the year. So it's not a question of catching up. I don't want to cause any anxiety with parents whose kids didn't have access to technology or an internet connection to be able to access the materials that had been online. We're looking at a proper education system delivered online starting in September when necessary. As much as possible, we want it to be in schools because that's the best way to learn, but we want to make sure that high-quality offer is there starting in September when school reopens.
And Andrew, your second question, please.
Yeah, how accurate do you think this survey is? You and I spoke last week, and the worry was about some families not even having a home phone. and potentially slipping through the cracks. How confident are that you've captured everybody in this survey?
I can't be. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm relying on the information that's feeding up through me from teachers and everyone else. And I know that the teachers are being diligent in making sure they reach out to as many as possible. But one of the difficulties presented by the pandemic is that teachers can't just go over to someone's house and knock on the door and say, hey, do you guys have a computer? Do you need one? So we've got to, as much as possible, use other means to try and reach out to people. Some of that's going to be, I'm sure, in the next couple of weeks, oh, you got a computer? What about this family? Why didn't they get one? That information will spread organically back up through the system, and we'll find places that have needs that we hadn't identified. I have absolutely no doubt that's going to happen. What I can commit to today is that we're going to be ready to listen and to act to make sure that everyone's ready for September.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Andrew. Vicki Hogarth with Charlotte County TV. Your first question, please.
Thank you. Minister Cardy, in your last conference, you said that the silver lining to the pandemic is that it will allow you to collect data on students' needs across the province. I'm wondering what other areas of need that the data has highlighted for you.
Well, so far, this is the main area we focused, is just the absence of either internet connectivity or technology to pursue home learning. So that's what we've got right now. But as we go forward in this, it's one of the things that we're getting is we've had, just to take one example, representations from a number of parents and students saying, in the fall, can I continue doing more of the home learning? Because we have some kids who learn better that way. They learn better working by themselves. We want to make sure that the social aspect of school is preserved, but as we move towards having a system that's genuinely personalized, reflecting the passions of each child and student and figuring out ways to meet those using the education system so that they can build on that for their career and hopefully a happy life, this offers opportunities there. So again, I'm really excited about the fact that coming out of this pandemic, we're going to have a fully connected student body, and I think that's something that all New Brunswickers can be proud of.
And do you have a follow-up, Vicki?
Just a quick follow-up. I'm wondering if you are planning any donation drives for technology, as there are some households that might have one computer, but it's split between many family members.
So our first, when we were first talking about this, I was thinking in terms of trying to collect secondhand machines and clean them up and get them back out again. In the context of the pandemic, that became very difficult for safety reasons, that getting the machines, cleaning them, and so on. The science around the transmissibility of COVID-19 on surfaces for extended periods of time is still very much up in the air, to make a bad pun. So our goal is to use the new technology for now, but going forward, it is crazy that we have got thousands and thousands and thousands of perfectly functional, only one generation old smartphones, computers, iPhones, tablets, and everything else that end up stuck in people's drawers or end up in landfills. So coming out of this, I want to absolutely try and see if we can, as part of our commitment to building a green province where we recycle and use our materials appropriately, that part of that is that we bring those materials into schools for use, whether it's for kids who don't have access to the best technology, kids from families where there are lots of children and they don't have enough machines, to your point, or as well for kids to take apart and figure out how computers are built, because part of the education system of the future is going to be working on advanced manufacturing and technology development processes, and having access to machines like that is a great asset. So that's a great question, and that's something we're going to be absolutely working on. First, we need to get through this pandemic so we can actually go to people's homes and pick things up again.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Vicki. Bobby Tellier with the Telegraph Journal. Your first question, please. And Harry Forrestal, CBC, your first question, please.
Thank you. Minister, forgive me if you've already spoken to this. I joined the event a little late. It's been difficult to hear. But are you fabricating this strategy as you go along, or is there a best practice somewhere else in the world, in some other jurisdiction you're looking to sort of ground your strategy going forward?
Thanks for the question. No one's asked me that yet. We're looking at this, absolutely taking inspiration from other countries that have worked to roll out technology usage in the past, because other places have been talking about this for 20 years. We've been talking about it for 20 years. Other places have actually moved ahead and done it. You look at some of the Baltic countries and some others that they've had great success in mainstreaming technology use in classrooms. But this is something where New Brunswick can really be out in front. If we have a fully connected population, we have a small population, but if we're all fully connected, that offers opportunities for us not just to be able to reach across our borders during a time when physical borders are shut, but to reach across some of those frontiers in our own province. We can use the technology to connect Francophone and Anglophone students. We talk about the cultural divide in New Brunswick. Here's a way we can start to address it. So the use of this technology is going to go across so many different fields, and it's again going to, I think, put our students in really good stead to face a very changed world and a very different future than one we could even have imagined a few months ago. So this is a made in New Brunswick plan, but certainly takes inspiration from around the world, because I try not to do anything that isn't evidence-based.
And do you have a follow-up, Harry?
Yes, please. Just briefly, what about training for the teachers who will be using this technology to help them adapt and be ready? How soon will that take place? How long is that training expected to take? And will everybody be in the right position by the time September rolls around?
I'll take your last question first, and that answer is yes. That's the priority for this department, is to make sure that our teaching staff is ready to take on the challenges of online and in-class learning and to flip back and forth. And we're looking at working with the unions and the association on PD days that can be assigned for giving the necessary training. And that's going to be, I think that'll take different forms for different teachers. I don't want to waste the time of teachers who are already winning global prizes for online learning by making them go through the material. We need them to help work with their peers to help their peers reach up to something, probably not the same level, but close to it. So we're going to make sure that those options are flexible and reflect the needs of the teachers, because we talk about personalization for our students. Personalization applies to anyone's learning path, including the teachers and other professionals in the system. So we'll try and do our best to make sure that the professional development is appropriate and targeted to meet the needs of each teacher in the province as we get ready to, as much as possible, meet the needs of each student starting in September.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Minister, thank you, Harry. And I will just circle back to two that we missed earlier. Kevin Bissett with the Canadian Press, are you there? Okay. And Bobby Tenier with the Telegraph Journal. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, so much. Stay safe.
This is Rogers TV, New Brunswick.